Welcome. Today we're going to talk about ethics. Ethics. Let me tell you why. There's a gentleman called me, and generally people will comment down below, and I appreciate that. Sometimes they'll reach out through email. I appreciate that. This gentleman took the time to find my phone number, and he called me up. His name is Peter Galinskas. Peter, if I mispronounce that, please correct me. Peter Galinskas. So he calls me up, and he wants to talk about this particular topic. And when he told me what he told me, I was completely blown away. What he said to me was, one of my favorite series, the one I promoted it here often, Dan Harlan and Penguin Magic have produced a series called Every Trick in the Book, where they're taking literally every trick in Tarbell and they're teaching it. I was able to pick these up from Penguin Magic for about $10 a piece. And the way I did that was I purchased 10 at a time. So I spent $100 and I bought 10 lessons. And I basically went through and bought most of the lessons that way. So I feel like I got a bargain. Now I think if you buy these things outright, I think they're $20 a piece, maybe they're $30 a piece. They're a bargain at even that, because you're getting Dan Harlan teaching not just one trick, but whole sections out of Tarbell, and bringing all of his creative genius to the table. You're getting you're getting a show, you're getting an explanation, and it's Tarbell. So I think it's one of the best values in magic. So Peter calls me up and he says, did you know that somebody's selling that for $5 a piece? In other words, somehow they've gotten home, maybe they downloaded it and they're reselling it at $5 a piece. And I couldn't believe someone would do that. It is a violation of ethics, to say the least. And it's a violation of law, too, folks. So he asked me to address the issue of ethics. Another thing that we talked about, we were both friends of Denny. We both used to hang out at the Denny and Lee shop. I'm not going to call it an emporium, Peter. See, I'm not going to call it that, because it was not called that. It was a studio. That was another thing that I just remembered. Another thing that Peter said to me was, you referred to the Denny and Lee Magic. It was never called an emporium. It was called a studio. So I don't know why that stuck in my head. I don't know why it did, but I was wrong. It was called the Denny and Lee Magic Studio. So anyway, we used to hang out there. And in the early days, people came and they spent the day and they would buy magic all day long. And it was good. As the internet really came up to speed and people began to buy from internet dealers, customers would come into Denny's shop. They would ask for demos. They would ask Denny questions about props. They would sometimes even handle the props. Sometimes ask Denny to open a carton and show them the prop. They would look at it, they would handle it, they would get Denny's instruction, then they would go buy it cheaper online. This is why we don't have brick and mortar dealers, right? We've shot ourselves in the foot. So I want to go over some ethics with you guys, and I searched for a standard of ethics that I thought we could all agree on. And what I found was the ethical guidelines from the Society of American Magicians. If you go to their website and you search for ethics, you'll find this. It's right there. So I'm not sharing with you my own personal opinion here. I'm sharing with you the ethical guidelines that every member of the Society of American Magicians subscribes to. Number 1, oppose the willful exposure to the public of any principles of the art of magic or the methods employed in any magic effect or illusion. Do not expose magic. Why would you? First of all, somebody spent the effort, the time, the blood, sweat, and tears to bring that into the magic community. It's proprietary. They own the rights to it, only they can share it, and for whatever price they put on it. It's their business, it's their property, it's their intellectual property. Why would you ever share someone else's intellectual property? Number one. Number two, it diminishes all of us. Our purpose is to create wonder. If you willy-nilly give secrets away, you're diminishing our ability as performers to create wonder for our audience, which is our mission. Oppose the willful exposure, any principles of the art of magic. Number two, display ethical behavior in the presentation of magic to the public and in our conduct as magicians, including not interfering with or jeopardizing the performance of another magician, either through personal intervention or the unauthorized use of another's creation. Display ethical behavior in the presentation of magic. Do not interfere with someone else's performance. In fact, you should speak well of other performers. Speaking ill of other performers makes you look small. Speaking well of other performers speaks well to our entire art. Number three, recognize and respect for rights of creators, inventors, authors, and owners of magic concepts, presentations, effects, and literature, and their rights to have exclusive use of or to grant permission for the use by others of such creations. You would never think to take a top 40 song and call it your own and record it as your own. You would never think to do that. You would never think to pick up a best-selling book in a bookstore and republish it with your name as the author. You'd never think to do that. But magicians take other magicians' presentations without permission all the time. And they also take their proprietary effects all the time. That is a violation of ethics. Discourage false or misleading statements in the advertising of effects and literature, merchandise, or actions pertaining to the magical arts. For those that are just coming up and beginning in magic, one of the things you have to watch out for is truth in advertising. You're going to be sold a bill of goods when you look at a trailer. Most of the time, the trailer is false. You just need to understand that, buyer beware. Number five, discourage advertising in magic publications for any magical apparatus, effect, literature, or other materials for which the advertiser does not have commercial rights. This is done all the time too. People take other people's effects and they remarket it. Number six, promote the humane treatment and care of livestock used in magical performances. Little story. So, and I think it's a really good idea for a family entertainer to have a rabbit in his or her act. I think it's a good idea. People, for good or ill, people associate magicians with rabbits. They do. But let me tell you a story about my first rabbit. So I decided I was going to put a rabbit in the act. I wanted a very particular rabbit. I wanted a white rabbit with black eyes. And I went to a breeder, and the breeder said to me, well, that's not really, you can get a white rabbit with pink eyes. It's very hard to get an all-white rabbit with black eyes, but I will breed one for you. So I got a special breed of rabbit that was all white with black eyes. And I loved this rabbit. I named him Harvey. And I performed with him several times. And after performances, I noticed that he was ill. His eyes would roll around. He would be unsteady. I took him to the vet, and he was diagnosed as having a condition called Pasteurella, which is an inner ear infection. Now, if you're a rabbit and you have an inner ear infection, your whole equilibrium is off. You can't stand. I basically retired this rabbit from performance. It was just too frail to use in performance. Animals, to me, animals are people too, right? Some people are well suited to the performance environment, some people are not. When you use livestock in your act, I think you do have an obligation to make sure that the livestock is comfortable, that the livestock is okay with the performance environment, and that they're treated well and transported humanely. I just think that's the right thing to do. So folks, Peter, thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you so much for calling. Thank you so much for asking for this type of thing. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment down below. I'd love to see your comments. These are sometimes controversial subjects. I don't think it should be. I mean, it's the Society of American Magicians standard. I'm not making anything up or adding anything here. It is what it is. Now, hopefully we can agree on this. Please comment down below. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.